Number 6, Call of Duty Ghosts. So this new Call of Duty game from Infinity Ward looks very interesting. So there was there was some information at E3 about it, and Mark Rubin, the executive producer, was interviewed about the game and gave a little bit more information. So Call of Duty Ghosts is a brand new Call of Duty game. He basically said that, Modern Warfare 3, that kind of story arc has finished, and they wanted to start something new. So Call of Duty Ghosts is a brand new story, and basically it's set in the same kind of modern era, but it's a completely alternative reality. And it's set in this post-apocalyptic America. And America is no longer a superpower. Apparently at the beginning of the game, some kind of catastrophic event happens, and that really does change the balance of power in the world, and America is kind of devastated by that event. So whereas previous Call of Duty games, you were part of a bigger kind of military power and you were very much backed up by that military might, in Call of Duty Ghosts it has a much more human feel from the looks of it, and it revolves around the story of two brothers who grow up in this sort of post-apocalyptic America, and they're fighting for survival, and there is a lot more guerrilla warfare style of gameplay involved in it, and you are effectively going up against a superpower. So apparently 10 years after the event, which devastated America, an unseen enemy has emerged as a threat to the US, and kind of the remnants of US Special Forces from each branch in the military have sort of come together to create this elite kind of group of soldiers known as the Ghosts. And these two brothers are part of that group, and they're fighting to basically eradicate all threats and to protect the weak and what remains of America. And so it is a very, very different kind of storyline and feel, and it sounds very interesting. I'm very interested to see who this other superpower is that you go up against in the game, and it's really great. Apparently they showed a couple of levels, and you can really see just how sort of devastated America was by whatever event this was that happened. And so I'm very intrigued to see that, and I do like the direction they're going by making it more of a immersive feel and more of a human element to it, by having the two brothers and of course being invested in their survival and in their story and in their experience. And I really like that direction that they're going in. So that's the basic story of Call of Duty Ghosts. It does sound interesting. So they showed two main demos at E3. Two gameplay demos. The first was kind of an underwater demo, and it's called Into the Deep, and it was very impressive, which they showed. The demos that they ran at E3 were run on the next generation consoles, whether the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4, but they were using next gen tech just to show off kind of what the next gen version of this game would look like. And the underwater fighting game Into the Deep looked really, really cool. It looked very impressive in terms of graphically. The lighting and particle effects under the water were quite amazing, and it really did lend this sense of heaviness and relative realism and immersion into this level, and the sound effects and everything. It looked really great, and there's a lot of detail in the actual underwater level. There's a lot of underwater foliage, of course the fish, of course there was a lot of joking about that at the Xbox reveal event, all these fish memes coming out. Oh, the fish can run away from you, how amazing. So going into this, I was a little skeptical, but I do have to admit that it did look quite impressive. And the underwater demo looked really good. Of course, within it you play as the two brothers, of course. And it was really cool. I like the element of combat that they brought into it. So you actually have a rifle underwater, and you can actually fire this rifle, and apparently it is based on a real rifle. Mark Rubin did say that it's based on a Russian weapon called the APS that was designed to be able to fire underwater, and then so that's kind of cool. The underwater demo, you know, it did have some moments in it that were quite exciting, and you know, there was a couple of moments where you had to like avoid the sonar from a ship that was causing, you know, damage to the environment around you, and that was, you know, was very immersive and really great. And yeah, the dust effects and everything were really awesome, and you get to use a kind of a portable torpedo as well against it, which was kind of cool. And that is always this kind of element of Call of Duty, and, you know, taking control of kind of the latest tech and the new tech that's being designed, you know, for the military. So that was really epic, and there were just some epic kind of like cinematic scenes and exciting scenes of, you know, having to try to like avoid debris and escape, and of course fighting with the you know, you're the enemy. So yeah, the underwater demo was quite impressive, and I definitely enjoyed watching it, and it looked like an interesting level to play. The other level that they did show was called No Man's Land, and this takes place roughly 10 miles north of San Diego, and I'm not sure when it is in the game, but I think maybe it's relatively early on. But it does show like this idea of America being kind of devastated by this huge event. And this demo, No Man's Land, was very much used as a way to show off the new Call of Duty dog, who is called Riley. His name is Riley. And of course, like when I first saw the Call of Duty dog at the Xbox reveal event, I was, you know, like everybody else, highly amused that they were pushing, you know, this dog, this next-gen dog, and how amazing he was going to be. And, you know, he's got real scars and everything. And there were so many really hilariously funny Call of Duty dog memes out on the internet at the time, and you know, it's quite hysterical. And I think for, you know, for the kind of Infinity Ward, it's a little unfortunate that they were advertising Call of Duty Ghosts during the Xbox reveal event, because of course there was a lot of controversy and a lot of criticism laid against Microsoft at that time. And I feel like, you know, Call of Duty, whether fairly or unfairly, kind of got dragged into that whole experience during the Xbox reveal. And so of course people are a little bit more cynical and a little bit more critical. You know, Microsoft were going on about TV and not games, and, you know, the people from Infinity Ward and Activision were going on about dogs and fish, and that's really not what we were interested in. But having actually watched the demo, the No Man's Land demo, I will admit that the Call of Duty dog Riley does look pretty badass, and does look really interesting. And yeah, like it seems like you can actually take control of Riley, and you can use him quite effectively. So, you know, whereas in like other games like Killzone, for example, where you have this new combat drone, Riley is kind of like a combat drone, only, you know, of course he's a living, breathing mammal. And you know, during this demo, they did kind of show how you can sort of use him. And, you know, you can take control of Riley, and you can use him to, you know, take down people within the level, you know, enemy AI within the level. And his takedowns were pretty brutal. Like, he literally just rips their throat right out. So, yeah, his takedowns were pretty brutal. But you can also use him to create distractions. So I think they showed a section in the demo where you kind of stealthily creep within, you know, in the bush, in the cover, and then, you know, order Riley to bark, and he will distract a guard so that your friendly AI can sort of take out that guy. So that was kind of cool. And they showed another bit where you can send him in to a room to kind of force the enemy where you want them, and to make them panic and make them rush out into the open, so that, you know, you and your partner can take them out using rifles. So Riley did look, you know, really cool and really interesting, and I like the whole idea of being able to control him, being able to use him, you know, stealthily or in a strategic way. And so yeah, he looked pretty cool, the Call of Duty dog Riley. I do know he is based on an actual real dog, and they did do a lot of motion capture animation from an actual real Navy SEAL dog. And they did do a lot of research by interviewing kind of a Navy SEAL officer and his dog, and talking about how Navy SEAL dogs are used. militarily, and I do think it's kind of a clever design choice by the people at Infinity Ward, because, you know, not only can Riley be used very effectively in gameplay, but also, like, in terms of the story, he is another character that people inevitably, of course, I think, will become connected to, and you know, will be really invested in his survival, especially because, you know, he's a dog and people love dogs. And so, you know, I'm sure there's going to be moments in the game where they're going to pull your heartstrings when you're, you know, worried about Riley or whether he's going to survive, or you'll want to protect him or whatever. But I do think it's a very clever idea that they've come in, and that they've created, and it does look interesting, and I think it will be good. In terms of the multiplayer, I know, like, multiplayer is hugely important for the Call of Duty series, and a lot of people, you know, predominantly play it for the multiplayer. There wasn't that much information about the multiplayer. They really are keeping, you know, things under their hats. They're keeping their secrets. But they did reveal that two things, basically, that of course there would be character customization, and your characters would be customizable, but they said they were going to take this a little bit further than in previous Call of Duty's installments, and you would be able to customize your character in a lot more detail. They didn't say how, but they did say that. And they did also say that multiplayer maps are going to be dynamic, and that they will be changeable. So there'll be certain points when you're playing where you can open up a map, or you can set traps, or sometimes there'll be some kind of real-time event, like an area will flood and you'll have to get to high ground whilst, you know, fighting your enemy. So, you know, those two things sound very interesting, but they didn't give that much information about the multiplayer, and I'm sure they'll be revealing more information definitely within the next couple of months. So there wasn't that much information in terms of multiplayer. Oh, new challenger to it. So there are two main games that are very much in competition with Call of Duty in terms of who is going to be the dominant first-person shooter game in this next generation of consoles. And the two main games that are huge challenges are Titanfall, which is a new game for Xbox One and PC, and also, of course, Battlefield 4. And I do think that the people at Call of Duty, they do have a lot of pressure on. And of course, you know, with the next generation title, graphics are important, but they need to not lose sight of the fact that it is a next generation console, and we don't only want games that are graphically beautiful. And, you know, Infinity Ward really do need to innovate, and that is the key, and it's gameplay that's the key. So, you know, with these new more powerful machines, there is a lot more available. There's a lot more that they can do with it, and they really need to start innovating in terms of gameplay. So, you know, we need improved AI that provide more of a challenge to you. One of the beefs I do have with Call of Duty is sometimes it's too structured, and often, like, you know, your friendly AI will just give you an order to do something, and it's not challenging enough sometimes, and you really are kind of handheld throughout it. And so then I think they need to stop doing that as much. Of course, you need some of it for the story, you know, and of course, and to get you in a certain location so you can have this amazing kind of cinematic cutscene. But they do need to start, you know, providing more challenge, and one way is through improved AI. Of course, the new next-gen consoles have more processing power as well. You know, PlayStation 4 has 8 gigabytes of RAM. And, you know, they really need to make use of that. And of course, like by having a lot more detail on the screen, by having changeable landscape, by having destructive scenery, just having it more interactive and more inclusive, and just really, you know, setting the bar and trying to innovate. And Call of Duty Modern Warfare 1 did do this with the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. When that came out, it really did innovate, and it changed the whole kind of first-person shooter industry. And they need to do the same thing with Call of Duty Ghosts. And I do have to say, the other game that I watched at E3, Battlefield 4, really did seem to be pushing the boundaries. And I do have to admit that Battlefield 4 was quite impressive. I've chosen Call of Duty Ghosts here because I am more interested in the story, and I am a very much story-based player, and there wasn't that much information about the story to do with Battlefield 4. But I will say that the gameplay of Battlefield 4 looked very impressive. They did show that in Battlefield 4 they had this amazing kind of demo that was shown, and was shown in real time. And they had 64 playable characters on screen at the same time, which was incredibly impressive. They also showed this new kind of commander role that exists within the game as well, where you can control, you give orders and directions to your troops, and you can see the battleground, from an aerial perspective, and you can use like your tablet to interact with that. And you can also call down missile strikes and so on. And yeah, the commander mode looked really, really cool. And they did show like how the environments are a lot more interactive and a lot more exciting. You can, commandeer and take control of boats and ships and weapons. They showed one amazing bit where you kind of like skydived off of this huge skyscraper building and parachuted down. And then of course the huge epic kind of moment was where they showed that actually in real time buildings can collapse and they can fall in real time, and it really did kind of just draw you into the game, and it was incredibly exciting to watch. And it did seem that the people that behind Battlefield 4 were really pushing the boundary and innovating, and that is one concern I have about Infinity Ward and Call of Duty Ghosts, that they really do need to innovate a lot more. And I really do believe that the people that do innovate and do not only have beautiful graphics and good story, but also really new innovative gameplay, that is the team that's going to win this kind of battle between the major first person shooter series that are out. And there are 4 very big guns coming out with next gen, Killzone Shadowfall, Titanfall, Call of Duty Ghosts, and Battlefield 4, and all 4 are strong contenders to see who will win this fight. So anyway, if you are interested, Battlefield 4 will be out on October the 29th, and it is a multi-platform game, so I think it will be on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, PC. I don't know whether it's out on the Wii U, but it probably will also be a next-gen game, so I'm sure it will be out on Xbox One and PlayStation 4 later. And Call of Duty Ghosts, that is going to be released on the current generation consoles on the 5th of November in North America and Europe. And it will be available. They have said that it will be a next generation game as well, and it will be available on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. They didn't say when. They haven't given an actual date for that yet. I'm thinking probably it's going to be in the first quarter of 2014, most likely, unless they've already have started tweaking that and working on that currently. Who knows? But I think I will be buying it next generation. I think with the current generation, they're really going to struggle to kind of, support this game. And so I want to get the full experience out of playing it that I can get. And I really only think I can get that by playing it on the next gen consoles. So when I do buy my PlayStation 4, I will be purchasing Call of Duty Ghosts with that console when I buy it. So okay, that is my number 6, Call of Duty Ghosts. So questions as always, are you guys interested in playing Call of Duty Ghosts? Have you played the previous Call of Duty games? If so, which was your favorite out of the Modern Warfare games? What do you think of the Call of Duty dog Riley? Do you like the look of him? And what do you think about the battle between, the 4 main first-person shooter games? Who do you think is going to win in that battle? Do you think it will be Battlefield 4, Call of Duty Ghosts, Titanfall, Killzone? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right, so I'll catch you guys next time. So have a great day, guys, and I'll see you later.